Hey peeps, how you doing? Are you cold and is it dark like it is here in Pennsylvania? Or are you in the sunny California where I used to live? Or are you in New Zealand where I understand there's a different sun or maybe two suns? No, wait, that's Tatooine. Yeah, same. Or Middle Earth. Hi, Alexa. You know, Alexa has been very often beating not only Wendy from Guelph, but also Donna to the gathering room. Yeah, that's true. So when we get 100 people, I'm going to start officially with this. Oh, Donna came in. Hello, Donna. There you are. It's so great to see you. And Alexa said hello to Rowan as well. So can I pull Ro in to say, hello, this is the great Rowan Mangan, who is actually the brains of the operation and will be keeping me from going mentally insane while I...
And when she goes mentally insane, that's when the fun begins.
That's when the fun begins, yes.
Oh, so many comments.
She can put on the restraints and administer the medications. So many comments. Ooh, we've already got over 100. This is awesome. Oh, someone says, my Christmas lights are keeping the dark at bay. Isn't that the truth? There is a reason we do lights at Christmas. We talked about that last week. That's why I put a light behind me. I know I keep shifting rooms. I'm trying to confuse you. Actually, I'm trying to stay out of the way of the comings and goings of people in my house. And someone may come in and the dogs will go ballistic, and that will be, please forgive. We've got well over 100, and we've got 150 people. Yes. People from Texas, I'm seeing people from all over. I haven't been calling it out as well this week as usual, but we see you. Rose sees you mostly.
I see you.
She sees you.
I know where you live.
She sees distant people. Not distant emotionally, distant geographically. All right, my dears. Today I want to talk about something that is a little touchy at this time of year, and that is interpersonal boundaries. And this is basically a place for spiritual communion, but I have found doing my integrity cleanse and writing the integrity cleanse book that when you do a lot of spiritual work, you change. And when you change, it affects the way you relate to others. And that often causes a hullabaloo. And when the hullabaloo occurs, what we need is to know how to set boundaries, because a relationship is as strong as its boundaries. Well, we'll get into this in a minute. My point is, again, to make this topical, at the end of the year, boundaries get stressed because there are all these social conventions, all these cultural conventions, all these family and interpersonal conventions, and we're very tempted to leave what we feel and go with what is culturally expected. So it's, you know, that old thing about spending money you don't have to buy things you don't want to impress people you don't like. This is kind of when that goes absolutely, you know, interstellar. And often, you know, it's like, if somebody gives me a gift, do I have to give them one? Have I given them a gift and they didn't give me one? Oh no, what did I do there? I have to spend a certain amount of money on this. I have to give a certain donation to that, or people will be angry at me. Ooh, I have to spend a certain amount of time with each person. Will we do it with your family or my family? Where does the boundary lie? So a lot of people will move in on our boundaries at the holiday. And even worse, there are people with contradictory pulls on our time, our energy, our money, and everything else. And they get very strident at this time of year. And people's feelings are easily hurt. And then there's the mother of all boundary issues. You know, I was just thinking the mistletoe, or January 1st, midnight. You have to kiss me. I'm under the mistletoe. Or it's midnight. Kiss. You know, it's like, wow. What if you don't want to? You can get into some water. I just watched a Friends episode with Adam about Joey Tribbiani waiting for the New Year's countdown so he could kiss this gorgeous woman. Because then the culture says she couldn't say no. And of course, on Friends, she loved him too, and everything was great. It doesn't always work out that way. So I said a minute ago that a relationship is as solid as its boundaries. And that means that if you know you're safe with someone and that they won't do things that hurt you or things that make you feel exposed, your boundaries are solid with that person and you feel safe. And that's a good, tight relationship. And that could be with the person you're married to. You know, I know you're not going to push me to do things I don't want. I know that you're not going to expose me to harm and ridicule or whatever. Same thing goes in a sort of office acquaintanceship, your secretary or the person who, your boss, whatever. You could believe, oh, that person is not going to push me past my boundaries of comfort, and that person is not going to, will stand up for me if something comes at me that's trying to get at me. So it forms a boundary that says they won't come too close to you, and they will also keep unwanted things away from you if they can. And that's what creates trust in a relationship. Doesn't matter whether it's intimate, or just an acquaintanceship. Okay, so every therapist will tell you that intimacy, so relationships have levels of intimacy, and any level of intimacy requires 2 yeses. Okay, so if you want to be really close to me and I want to be really close to you, 2 yeses, intimacy, great. Everybody agrees. But, as any good therapist will tell you, any level of intimacy has to end if there is just one no. So if one person really wants something to happen, you know, a lot of closeness, certain types of behavior or whatever, and the other person really doesn't, that's a hard no for both people. Because Ro is Australian, she has not often heard, lean in. She hadn't really heard the song, Baby, It's Cold Outside.
I don't think that's because I'm Australian.
But you know all the musics of the world. And I can't think of no other reason. You don't have Christmas there, do you?
No.
They don't.
Not yet.
They sit around.
We're hoping to get it soon.
They sit around in the hot sun drinking white wine, or so I have been told. You Australians and New Zealanders can tell me where I'm wrong. Anyway, this song is, you know, the music I quite like. It's a really pretty duet between a male voice and a female voice. And if you listen to the words, it's like, I think it's meant to be flirtatious. You know, it's a woman saying she has to leave a man's apartment. And he's saying, but it's cold outside. And she's like, no, I really have to go. And he's like, ooh, gee, your hair looks swell. I don't think this was written anytime in the last 30 years. And then he tries, what's the use of hurting my pride? And then, oh, I'll be so sad if you go. And it's clear as the song goes on that he doesn't just want her to stay in the apartment. He wants her to get in his bed. And I think it was meant to be cute. And it is pretty. And, you know, if you love it, I can see why. But anyone who's ever been date raped, or anyone like me who's counseled dozens of people who have been date raped, by the end of the song, you're going, that man's a serial killer. Like, get out. And just a few decades ago, that was considered such a cute thing to do at Christmas, right? And hey, it's Christmas. And here's the problem at Christmas is that when one person says no, and the other person says, yes, more, another person's like, no, don't want more. The person who wants more can say, but it's Christmas, or it's Hanukkah, or it's Kwanzaa, or it's New Year, or it's whatever else, whatever other pressure, cultural pressure they can bring. And the person who wants to say no goes, yeah, everybody does this at Christmas. It's just Christmas. You know, you got to be nice at Christmas. Now, the enemy of clear boundaries is nice. I read a really interesting essay once on this woman who liked nice people, and then she found out that the most manipulative people she knew were the nicest, and so she started not trusting nice people. I think we can be nice and still respect each other's boundaries, but at Christmas time, we try to be a little nicer, and people push a little harder. And we can get run ragged trying to do much for too many people. We can outspend. We can let people into our homes or into our celebrations that we ordinarily wouldn't want around us, and think, I have to. This is the culture. I will repeat my favorite quote from Oscar Wilde: "Never get married out of politeness." That's an example of letting someone across your boundaries because you just don't want to be rude. Okay, it can ruin your life, because as soon as the boundary is penetrated, as soon as it's broken, and the person who wants more has gotten what they want, that is considered precedent for getting more on an ongoing basis. And it's much harder to say no once you've let someone do something or even invited them in to do something. So think about vampires. People think about vampires. They can't come in unless you invite them across the threshold. Then they can come in. So it's really hard not to invite people in during the holidays if there's pressure to do so, even if part of you knows it's a vampire. So, how do you avoid this? First of all, I wanted to have a show of hands. Not really, because I can't see you. But I wrote down how many of us have gotten in over our heads by letting people in closer than we really wanted them and then not knowing what to do about it. Yeah. So I did that all the time, pretty much until my 30s, until I got some therapy. And I didn't really know how to set boundaries even after therapy, because there weren't other people in the therapy with me. There was group therapy, but it was somebody was in charge, right? But one day I went with Adam to a training that was meant to help children with cognitive disabilities set boundaries and specifically not get molested. Let's be open about this. And I have this PhD in whatever, and they're teaching these 5-year-old kids with cognitive delays how to set boundaries. And I'm like, wait, what? Slow down, go back. What? This is blowing my mind. How do you do this? What they did was they physically put them on a big tarpaulin, big white tarp, and it had a bullseye painted on it, 10 circles. And they put each child in the middle of the circle. And then they said, we're going to send a lot of people walking slowly toward you, one by one, and you say when you want them to stop, and raise your hand and say stop. So and then the instructors and people would come in, and some of them were acting kind of weird, and some of them were being, they were role playing, and the kids were learning when to say stop. Did you know that most women who go to assertiveness training and self-defense courses cannot, until they are trained to do so, put up their hands and scream no to someone who's asking them for something? That's the first thing they teach in a lot of self-defense classes. That alone is enough to send a lot of, would-be ill-doers away. But most of us can't do it until we're trained, because we're the only animal that won't do that. Maybe a dog, but you have to train it. Cats will just scratch the crap out of you, right? A horse will kick your head in. Doesn't matter.
Just want to say results of the survey.
Oh,
Lots and lots of people saying, yes, I have been in over my head.
Oh, yes. Results of the survey. You have been in over your head. Maybe we all are now. Who knows? So imagine your life as a bullseye circle. I got to get through this faster because I'm not covering enough material. Imagine yourself in the center. In the 100% bullseye center is you and God, if you believe in God. That's it. Literally no one else gets 100% of your time, energy, and attention. On the 90% circle, your dearest loves, people that you don't have to alter your behavior around them ever. You're not afraid that they won't like you. You're not worried about what they're going to think. You're just yourself. Yeah. So they live in the 90% circle. The 80% circle is maybe, dear friends, but like in Seinfeld, when there's a scene where I think it's George goes in to the bathroom and you can't see him, but you can hear him peeing. And George Seinfeld goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, it's not George Seinfeld. It's George Costanza peeing. Jerry Seinfeld says, whoa, 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 we don't have an open door peeing policy. And it's like they're negotiating a level of intimacy. And George Costanza's like, I'm fine with it. And Jerry's like, I'm not. One no means no. Takes two yeses to mean yes. Yeah? So maybe in the 80% circle are people with whom you do not have an open door peeing policy. I lost my notes. Okay, so how do you know?
She overprepared.
I overprepared today because I was so into this topic. All right, so how do you know where someone belongs? Put yourself in the circle. This is a place where you will know from within yourself exactly where to stop someone. So if someone wants physical intimacy, whether it's a hug, a kiss on the cheek, a smooch, a kiss on the lips, whatever it is, like you can, a handshake, you can grade the intimacy from further to nearer and start with the furthest out you can. So would waving be okay? Yes. Would a handshake be okay? Yes. Would a hug be okay? Yes. Would a kiss be okay? Maybe on the cheek. Would a kiss on the lips be okay? No. Would a French kiss be okay? Way out. Like you know. And the way you know is that your integrity tells you. It's what I call your sense of truth. I'm writing about it every day these days. And what I say your sense of truth is when your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul are all telling the same story. So in this sense, it only takes one no to keep a person out, and it takes four yeses to let them in. So a body no is when you literally imagine a level of intimacy with someone and you literally pull back, even if it's just verbal intimacy. You'll pull back, or they want more of your time, or whatever it is. And you actually will have trouble pushing yourself toward that. You may also get a sense of tension. You may get nausea. You may get headaches. It can be really strong. It can be really strong because the animal doesn't want to be encroached upon. A mental no is when someone is being charming and amazing and wonderful, but you know it's a drug addict and you know he steals your money every time he comes in the house. And even though he says such sweet things and you love him so much, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, and he is likely to steal all your money again. And your mind says, I can't do it. No. All right. A heart no is where you feel either scared, saddened at the thought of a level of intimacy, but mostly of all, angry. So sad, glad, mad, and scared. You're looking for the three negative emotions, and the one that's most likely to show up is mad, angry. My friend Franca likes to say anger is the sacred emotion that heals a boundary that once was violated. It's also the emotion that keeps people from violating us. And even little children with cognitive delays get angry when someone comes in closer than they want. It's a fight response. So that's the emotional thing. And don't be upset with yourself if you feel anger when someone wants a lot out of you, because that's your self-defense mechanism. And as soon as they back away, as soon as you say stop and you know they have stopped, watch, the anger disappears. It is there to set boundaries. That's all. That's its function. It's not there to be mean. Okay, and finally, the soul. There's this time when something says, I don't understand this, but everything in me is leaning toward this person or away from this person. And sometimes even circumstances seem to be set up to keep you away from a person, maybe that you really want to be close to or something. And you don't really understand until later that there was destiny at work. And that is a mysterious force, and it takes a lot of attention to notice it, but it encompasses all the other three, and it also has its own insistent, mysterious force. So, finally, take each person that is pushing at your boundaries, sit quietly, feel what's too much for you and what's okay. Set the boundaries, be ready to tell them clearly, that's where I need you to stop. I'm not going to give you this, this, and this, and I won't accept that, that, and that. And I'm going to come to a close here with my favorite quote from Melody Beattie's book, The Language of Letting Go. Great book on codependency. She said, we cannot simultaneously set a boundary and take care of another person's feelings. It can't do it. There may be a ruckus when you set a boundary, but there will be a much worse ruckus and hell to pay later on if you don't. And we all know that. We've all done it. And finally, if you fail to do this, go easy on yourself. It's Christmas. Or it's New Year's or Hanukkah, whatever. Be nice to yourself, okay? So that's what I have to say about that.
I have a great question just following straight on. So say you set a boundary, Annabella says, what do you do when people don't respect your boundaries, assuming you've set them?
Then you do something that my old therapist used to call escalated assertiveness. So you say, please don't do that. And if they do that, you say, please don't do that. And if they do that, you keep doing that, you say, stop it. And if they keep doing it, you get a restraining order. I literally once physically pushed someone I'd hired and then fired out of the house. It was really weird, you guys. I don't do that. It was 20 years ago. But like, she literally wouldn't leave my house. And I literally sort of gently, physically herded her to the door and closed it. It's the only time I've ever done that. But then, you call the police if you have to. I took 8 years of martial arts lessons to learn how to say no, to learn how to set boundaries energetically, and then to have the confidence that if I couldn't set boundaries energetically and someone physically wouldn't respect my boundaries, I could incapacitate them or at least have a really good shot at it. And that gave me a lot of confidence inside. But you have to be willing to not take care of the other person's feelings. You state your truth, and you state it more and more emphatically, and you bring in whatever actions are necessary to reinforce that you really mean it, and you just hold your ground, hold your ground, hold your ground. That same therapist, my beloved therapist Ruth, who passed away this year, she also said, use something called the broken record player, for those of us who are 1,000 years old and know what a record player is. She said, if somebody says, I want this, and you say, no, I'm sorry, you can't have that, and they say it again, repeat yourself over and over. No, I'm sorry, you can't have that. No, I'm sorry, you can't have that. But no, I'm sorry, you can't have that. It's like if you listen to Baby, It's Cold Outside, and the woman finally says, you jackass, get off me, I'm leaving. And then punches him in the face and leaves. I think he needs punching. Listen to the song. I think you'll agree with me. Anyway, thank you. That's a really good point.
There's a few, I can't find the perfect one, but there's a few people who are asking about setting boundaries when there's social pressure not to. Either people try to cross your boundaries in front of other people so that there's like the sort of social contract there. At work is another thing where it's tricky.
Right. Very
and then
tricky.
This one from Nikki, who says, how do you set boundaries with people who will be in the same environment as people who don't choose to set the same boundaries? So all the social pressures.
Right. Well, you have to be willing to handle, did we talk last week about transformational tension? Is that what we were? No, I was teaching a class to my coach cadets about transformational tension. Sorry. Hi, coaches. Remember me? There's something that a shaman friend of mine calls transformational tension. And it means being willing to tolerate the tension between two people or in a room, a gathering of many people, when you don't go along with the norm of what the other person expects or what's wanted in the room. My favorite person to watch in this way is Adam, my son. And I mean, he learned it at the bullseye day, but he also, every single person in the room could say, do you want to go do this? And he'll say, no. And he'll always, don't you love that present? No. Yeah, I mean, and then he smiles. And he will not be shaken from his truth. He will not be shaken from his integrity. And I'm trying to be more like him, and it offends the hell out of people. And you know what? It would offend them worse if I just kept agreeing with them when I was lying about it, and it would violate my integrity. And it always ends up being worse for me and the relationship. So if you're willing to hold with transformational tension, it can be really quite a spicy time, but it can also build up your strength and your character so much. And I've had people come back to me who are really angry at me for holding my boundaries and say, the fact that you held your boundaries when everyone in the room wanted you to do something else made me trust you. So, go for play the long game. That's what I'd say. Hold the transformational tension, or hold the integrity in the transformational tension, and give it time. It will actually bring more good relationships to you.
They're all circling similar things, but I really like this one from Jessica. My anger comes up to protect me, but I don't want to seem angry as I assert my boundary, i.e. make a scene and wreck Christmas.
Yeah. One way to do it is just to be incredibly cheerful. Here's the thing. The more you believe that you're supposed to go past your boundaries, the angrier you become. If you have absolute confidence that it's okay for you to hold your boundaries, you don't really get angry. You just say no. And I've seen people do this who are highly advanced, and it's a delight to behold. I'm trying to think of examples without naming any names of people that I want to protect the innocent. But I know some people who cheerfully say, I won't be doing that this year. I really won't. I mean, okay, I'll give you an example. I'm always trying to get my friend Liz to come. She did the gathering room with me a little bit ago, to come to Africa with me. And she wants to come to Africa with me, and she does. I really want to go to Africa with Liz. And several times now, it feels like several, she's had to say no. The first time, it was because just as we were getting ready to go, her friend and later partner, Rhea, was diagnosed with cancer. So that was out. The next year, she was taking care of Rhea. It wasn't even a question. Now Rhea passed away, then Rhea passed away, but Liz had to write a book in a very compressed amount of time. Sorry, she said, I won't be going. And then when the book got published, or after she'd handed it into the publisher, it hasn't been published yet, she called me and said, you know what? I'll be doing publicity. I still can't go to Africa. I keep telling you I'm going, and then I don't go. I'm sorry. But there's not a trace of I'm so sorry, I'm such a bad person, because she's not a bad person. She just knows where her boundaries need to lie, and she's really clear with me, and I love that about her. And I wish she'd come to Africa with me, and I'm thrilled that she can just tell me no. So if you can, but even if people are toxic and harsh, if you are cheerful, and we've talked about holiday family bingo and all those things, if you can find a way to tell your friends about it later, to be a participant observer, to write a short story about it, do anything you can to be that compassionate witness who's a little bit stepped back from the action, then instead of, why are you so mean to me? We can just say, no, I won't be doing that. No, really, truly, I will not be doing that. No, I need you to hear my boundary here. I'm actually setting a boundary here. I won't do that. No. Okay, who wants turkey? Whatever. So, am I perfect at this? God, no. But I love inviting you guys into this circle of intimacy. It feels wonderful to me. And I know that if you didn't want it, you could say no. And that means that there are two yeses, yours and mine. And I am so honored and grateful to be at that spot on your bullseye target of life. So I have come to the end of the time now, and I'm thanking all of you again, as I always do, from the bottom of my heart, for sharing this time with me. And
too.
Thank you, Ro, and thank you, everybody. Mwah, 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 mwah. See you next week.
See you next week.